A few times a week, I get calls from parents who are very concerned about their children who are not turning in their homework, completing their homework on time, or completing it and forgetting to turn it in. And so we have some interesting conversations, but what we find out is that there's a lack of focus. And why is the lack of focus? Well, over time we discover what that might be. But initially we start with the low energy neurofeedback, and they see a shift in the behaviors and they are completing things. So why are they completing things? Well, there's a couple of things that we see in the maps that I look at. One is it shows me that their prefrontal cortex, this forehead up here, here's where your focus is, here's where your organizational skills are, here's where that desire to produce sort of lives in the brain. And that's understimulated for them. But sometimes I also find that the back of the head here is very overstimulated. And so if you're a scientist looking at the brain, back here is the limbic brain, the hunter brain, the brain that says fight or flee. So in our conversations, what we're finding is that there's a fair amount of video game playing. And a lot of that video game puts people into fight or flee mode. And when you're in fight or flee mode, you're working from the back part of the head. And so think about it. How many times have you asked them to get off the computer and they go, just a minute. And they're like this. They're just agitated. And they aren't getting off the computer. And then you ask again and they have an attitude. Well, the probability is they just can't break out of that fight or flee mode. So what we find is when we re-stimulate the prefrontal cortex, they're more in a position to make those choices for themselves that are proactive. They turn in the homework on time. They remember they have homework. They get excited about their projects. I even have one young man who decided to get his year-end project done a week before it was due and proudly walked it into the class and turned it in. I have other parents attending parent-teacher conferences, and they're sitting there and going, now you're sure you're talking about my child? Because that's not the typical behavior. So we have students now with improved behaviors in the classroom, participating where they didn't participate, and actually enjoying school. And they still get their video games, but only for 30 minutes at a time. So mom and dad, if you're tired of trying to find all those ways to incentivize your child to get their homework done, to get things done on time, to take responsibility and to be accountable, maybe it's just as simple as low energy neurofeedback and the biomat. So why don't we talk and we'll review what your options are and we'll see if this is a fit for you and your family.